Let's get ready to rumble!
I didn't know you like cherries, baby.
Hold on, bruh. Hold on, man. Hold on. Joe Smith, you're cherry-picking, son. Yeah, it's called cherry-picking, not cherry. Cherry-picking. You're cherry-picking, son. January the 15th, Joe the cherry-picker is fighting Callum Johnson. So hold on. I can't even see Callum Johnson is rated 11. You're fighting an 11th ranked contender in your first defense of that belt that I thought you lost against Maxime Vlasov. This is Joe. It's terrible. It's terrible. You got Lyndon Arthur at 1. He beat Anthony Yard, fighting him again. You know, two domestic rivals fighting each other. And Yard did better against Kovalev than what Callum Johnson did against Beterbiev. Why is he getting a shot? This is dreadful, man. Callum Johnson lost his last fight. He got the W on the referee scorecard, but he lost that fight. I watched it. Callum Johnson has had 3 fights since the Beterbiev fight, late 2018. 3 fights. None of them against an opponent you would recognize as anything. Well, if you know anything about British boxing, you should know that Frank Warren is heavily connected with the WBO, and he's used his influence to get Callum Johnson a shot, obviously. This is going to be a very easy fight for Joe Smith, just letting you know. Very easy fight. People are asking what happened to the Danny Jacobs fight against Joe Smith. That seems to all have but disappeared.
I didn't know you like cherries, baby.
That leads into another cherry picker,
It's not cherry picking, man. It's cherry picking.
Gervonta Davis. And it's not Gervonta, it's Gervonta, isn't it? It's not Gervonta, Mr. Media. It's Gervonta. So Leonard Ellerbe, when questioned about ripping into Eddie Hearn on the Fight Hype interview for suggesting that Devin Haney versus Gervonta Davis should be made, the person who made the tweet said, don't understand why he was so angry. The guy was just trying to make a fight with another promoter. Leonard Ellerbe, stop it. How the hell are you going to make a fight on 4 weeks' notice? That solely was to gas fans like you up who clearly don't understand how fights get made. Somebody replies to Leonard, Newton Street's finest, so how many weeks did little Pitbull CRUZ have? 4.5 weeks or 5? Huh? No reply from Leonard Ellerbe, obviously. Well, you're bang on the money. You're bang on the money, right? All Eddie did was put Devin's name into the hat with everybody else. Right? When Eddie put Devin's name in the hat, there was no CRUZ. We were still waiting for them to select the opponent. Mikael Rivera, his name was in the mix. Gary Russell's name was in the mix. Even Regis Prograis put his name in the mix. God knows how he'd get down to 135. There was a few people in the mix before Isaac CRUZ got the call. Leonard. So what's the difference between CRUZ and Haney? Are you telling me that a fight with CRUZ takes longer to make than a fight with Haney? Why? Why exactly? Eddie's not involved. Haney is a free agent. You're cherry picking for Tank, and that's the bottom line of it all. Fights are not made on 4 weeks' notice. You mean you couldn't deal with Devin on 4 weeks' notice? That's what you're saying. Or you don't believe he could. I'm not saying Tank couldn't. I think Tank could win that fight. But you don't believe in Tank. Tank probably believes in himself, but you and Floyd don't believe in him, and we can see that with the cherries that you're picking.
I didn't know you like cherries, baby.
Now, a lot of people are saying Canelo taking on Junior MAKABU, if you can't pronounce Lilenga, is a cherry pick. But they will tell you that David Benavidez and Jamal Charlo are the ultimate tests to see if Canelo is a great fighter. Even though David Benavidez has never been the top 168 pounder in his career. He's only 24, but he's never been that. And Jamal Charlo was never the top 154 pounder. He's not the top 160 pounder. Neither of them are yet to unify a belt or attempt to, but you're telling me they're going to be this great test. for Canelo. Now the question is, would you call it cherry picking if they went to fight Junior MAKABU? How many other fighters have unified belts in 3 weight classes? Do I agree with the Austin Trout decision? No. But he went in the ring and put his name in the hat and went for it and got the decision. Now, cherry picking from him being privileged with certain scorecards is 2 different arguments, right? You can't have both arguments. Canelo was unified belts at 154 against Austin Trout and then picked up a WBO belt after that against Liam Smith in 2016. Won 2 belts against Golovkin in 2018, 3 belts against Danny Jacobs in 2019. I didn't like the weight clauses or rehydration that he put on Kovalev at 175. Didn't like it, 2019. Then after that, in 11 months, he unified the super middleweight titles. All of them. Only name I consider a duck at 160 was Andrade. But that's my opinion. I mean, Charlo don't even fight at 168. Go up to 168 and put in a performance at least. Try and sell the fight a little. You think he's a strong contender at 168 when he struggled with Montiel, who's been knocked out 4 times at 160? Come on, man, you got to do better than this. He's not even attempted to unify belts at 160, but you believe that Canelo's ducking him and he's some kind of threat. This is nonsense. Nonsense boxing analysis. It's not good enough. You guys have got to step up. Give me something so I can really put some work in on Canelo, because I want to, but give me something. And my God, man, how can you complain about MAKABU in his first fight at the cruiserweight class? How can you actually complain about that? Yo, you should just fight, listen, even if he was to fight Bradis or Lawrence Okoli, you would still say it wasn't good enough. Because a lot of you don't even recognize the cruiserweight division. When USAC was undisputed at cruiserweight, there was a lot of people, mostly PBC fans, I have to say, who were critiquing USAC becoming undisputed at cruiser. That's the bottom line. Maybe you need to do some more boxing knowledge outside of your postcode. I get the feeling if he was to clean out Beterbiev and Bivol, you'd still be saying, oh, well, they're just some Euro bums. I'm still not impressed. I just have that feeling. You know what I mean? Some of you were saying he was ducking Caleb. Benavidez, Charlo, Caleb, their resumes are all around the same level.
I didn't know you like cherries, baby.
Eddie Reynoso, I know what Canelo has done to heavyweights in sparring. He'll beat MAKABU. Well, who's he sparring? Frank Sanchez, Andy. He looks like he's acquitting himself pretty well in these spars. Sparring, however, different from fighting. Don't count me in the crowd calling this a cherry pick. I am looking forward to seeing this fight. And I expect Canelo to be back on the zone with this one. I ain't got no options on Canelo. None. He laid out a lot of money. I'm following Don Curry's son on Twitter, former undisputed welterweight champion. His son wants help, not in a monetary way, but to spread awareness, hopefully, to find a solution for retired athletes. Don is suffering from head trauma and symptoms of CTE. For the last 3 years, his son has been trying to get him help, possibly to get a CT scan and have a mental evaluation take place. I don't know how old his son is, but he said his dad has declined mentally since he was in high school. He now sits in jail again, where he spent quite a bit of his son's childhood, apparently. I didn't know all this, man. He said at first he didn't feel for his dad when he was younger because he was unaware. He said his dad would ramble on for hours. He would ask the same question multiple times in a conversation. He forgot where his son went to school after telling him hundreds of times. Forgot where he lived. Just randomly be aggressive to people. People on the internet saying that that's just the way he is, he's crazy. One of the employees at a pawn shop said, I heard he was on drugs. So when he was inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame, his son heard great speeches from Teddy Atlas and Julian Jackson, Buddy McGirt and more. They tried to prepare a speech for Don. Don thought he could go on the stage and speak from his heart, talking on old boxing memories, because there's no way he could have memorized the speech. He went on stage and said thank you because he was not able mentally to really share his thoughts. His son is disheartened. A lot of Don Curry's relationships have been fractured because of this disease, and his son is apologizing. The only one who is able to put up with the volatile behavior is his aunt, but at this point, she doesn't know what to do. His son doesn't know what to do. Ron Katz a long-time matchmaker and boxing personality. He advised him to reach out to Bob Arum, who in the past has helped some of the former fighters he's promoted in need. Lou DiBella, he told Don Curry's son to DM him so he could get his number. Big up, Lou. Hopefully they can at least get him the CT scan and the mental evaluation and just the basics, and at least then he has a fighting chance of at least something better than what he's going through now. Two-weight world champion, undisputed at welterweight. I was listening to a channel that I can only describe. I'm not saying he's the greatest channel, but for me, the boxes he covers, the stories he covers, it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. I just say he's making the videos I would like to make. Is Rich the Historian, the Fight Historian. Amazing channel. His videos just have this uncanny, oh man, I remember these names, I remember these events, reading about this and watching this. It's just incredible. And the information that he brings forward, like I was watching his documentary on Don Curry. Curry nearly quit twice as an amateur. He knocked out someone named Ronnie Newton in 1979. He collapsed in his locker room after being knocked out and underwent surgery and was listed in serious condition. Curry felt bad about it, but then he realized that it's not really his fault. He could have had issues before he came in the ring, and he continued his career. Boxing ain't a sport to play. 400 amateur fights, 4 losses. 1 loss every 100 fights. You know, I remember watching Colin Jones challenge Don Curry for the undisputed welterweight title. Now, I watched it with my old man, and the old dude was a very hard man to impress. But Don Curry impressed my dad. My dad was just like talking about the 1-2 and the way he constructed his guard, and he was just impressed. And when my dad laid it down, yeah. But I knew he was good already. Because I was telling my dad, yo, Dad, we need to watch this. You know what I mean? And like, yeah. He was impressed. You know, my dad used to box before anyone asks. And if we was on the road and I tried to fight my dad, let's say I didn't know him, he'd have kicked my fucking ass. I don't know if it was an amicable split between him and Don, between him and Arum, because on the Rich the Historian documentary, Arum was saying that Curry lost focus. You know, he was cutting back Dave Gorman, his manager's money and his trainer's money, and he was more focused on a lot of stuff outside the ring. Arum accused Don Curry of being paranoid. I don't know if Bob is going to come through on this one.
I want my motherfucking money back.
It's like Al Heyman is trying to recover some shekels, bruh. You know, after that hit he took on the Canelo fight, I'm trying to recoup. I tell you what, boy, you anti-DAZN and said you love paying pay-per-view. Now you're going to pay pay-per-view for everything. No, everything but pay-per-view, every blood clot thing. Anybody pick up a boxing glove in 5 miles radius of Al Heyman is going on pay-per-view, bruh. You've got it. You got your wish. $40. $40 for Charles Martin versus Luis Ortiz. $40? Hey, I'm not knocking the fight. It's a decent fight, right? But Frank Sanchez versus Carlos Negron on the undercard. Shouldn't you be making Frank Sanchez versus Luis Ortiz to try and attempt making pay-per-view? Jared Washington versus Ali Eren Demirizen. Largo Kiladze versus Victor Forst. Johnny Rice versus Michael Coffey. Some of you criticize the UK pay-per-views. At least the price point isn't as inflated as that.
I want my motherfucking money back.
I'm actually going to pick Charles Martin to beat Luis Ortiz. Yeah. KEYSHAWN Davis. Before he went to the Olympics, he was fighting on Matchroom/DAZN cards, but he's opted to sign with Bob Arum and Top Rank. A lot of people are thinking he's going to stick with Eddie, but in hindsight, I'm not a Bob Arum fan. He done the right thing. Bob also bagged up Richard TORREZ, who won the heavyweight silver. So that's 2 of the 3 silver medalists that America had in Tokyo, KEYSHAWN and Richard. KEYSHAWN said he wants to follow the likes of Mayweather, Oscar, Michael Carbajal and Shakur Stevenson, all of whom Bob has promoted. He's promoted more than that. He's promoted George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, Thomas Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard. Iran the Blade Barkley. He's going to be fighting around 135 lightweight. And we've seen Eddie struggled with Devin. And he's the WBC champion. Ryan Garcia didn't want to take his mandatory against him, and neither did Jojo. Jojo has came around. He's going to fight him now. But Eddie has struggled to get opponents. Not only for Devin, but for Demetrius Andrade. Likely outcomes between Porter and Crawford. 9th round stoppage, Crawford. 7-5, 8-4, Crawford. On the scorecards, the most likely way for Porter to win could be a split decision. Carlos Takam takes on Tony Yoka. It's not bad. It's not bad. Yoka's fought a mixed bag of opponents. Veterans, the likes of Duhaupas, has challenged Deontay Wilder for a world title and made a good account of himself. Alexander Dimitrenko, big, but not that good. Christian Hammer was a decent test, I guess. He got stopped by Hughie Fury last time out. Peter Millas was undefeated. That was a good victory for Yoka last time out. To Billy Nelson, what happened to Martin Bacoli? Wasn't he supposed to be fighting Yoka? What happened to that? Billy made these big announcements that Martin was supposed to fight Yoka in December, but January the 15th, Yoka will be taking on Carlos Takam. Carlos, a little faded by now, got stopped by Joe Joyce. Some people say premature stoppage. You know, there's no reason why Hughie Fury couldn't fight Martin Bacoli rather than Chris Arreola. You don't need to bring in these imports. No disrespect to them, but there's no need. Hughie versus Martin Bacoli, perfectly good fight. Why can't Martin Bacoli or Hughie put their name in the hat to fight Hrgovic? What has happened to Hrgovic? What's happened to his eliminator? It's just went dead. Too much of the heavyweights right now are sleeping when there's perfectly good matches to be made. Yoka hasn't accelerated as fast as I thought he would. He himself said earlier this year, if you had asked me 5 years ago where I'd be now, it would have been further along than this. So why isn't his name in the hat to fight Hrgovic? So Jaime Munguia took a picture with Floyd Mayweather in Mexico. In fact, Mayweather has been mobbed in Mexico. The public can't get enough of him. So Munguia said, my idol, Floyd Mayweather. And it hasn't went down very well with his fellow Mexicans. Now, I'm not a boxer, but I know the sport that I'm talking about. And I might not be the biggest channel, not the smallest channel for a boxing channel, but I know how to describe what I want to say, where a lot of people haven't got a clue what they're doing. I've realized this, especially with this Canelo cherry picking. I've realized a lot of channels don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But as a boxer, you have to isolate yourself from many things. Like when your friends are going clubbing and you're young, you don't go clubbing. Or if you do, like Floyd, you run back from the club. See, all these people wanting Jaime to hate Mayweather, they don't get it. That application to training, I don't go clubbing, from Mayweather, is what Jaime does as well. That's where he relates to Floyd. Sacrifice to accomplish my goals as a boxer. That's where he relates to Floyd. Success as a boxer. And he's been successful right now, Jaime. Been a world champion already. And they're grooming him to be a contender at 160. He relates to Floyd Mayweather on these points here. Skill set, application, hard work, success, rewards for my success. That's where he relates to him, and that's why he says he's his idol. Just like Eric Morales is his idol. So you guys are going into all his personal life and what you think about him, Mexican versus blacks and all stupid shit like that. That's a concern to you because you don't go in the ring. But to a dedicated athlete like Jaime, he's just looking at Mayweather and saying, this guy is number one at what he did. That's who I want to be like as a boxer and a businessman. Porter and Crawford, they kept their distance at the presser rather than going for the traditional face-off. They kept their distance and let the atmosphere build ahead. Now, will the weigh-in be so passive-aggressive? There's a few words exchanged between the two. Asked about why he wouldn't describe his brutal intentions, Crawford said he doesn't have to believe it. I will show him on Saturday. Porter said, there isn't much I can say to change the way he thinks about himself and vice versa. He can't say to me, I will beat your ass, and he knows that, which is why he doesn't dare do it. There was a signed request from Terence Crawford at the WBC convention where they should have made Dillian mandatory for Tyson Fury, but forget that for now. and he requested to be Errol Spence's mandatory. Now, first off, why hasn't this been done before by Crawford and, more importantly, Bob Arum? Solomon seemed to be saying that they only accept the request from the promoter. What sense does that make? Why the f*** promoter? It's the fighter taking the risks in the ring, and it's him requesting the fight. Why are you giving so much power to the promoter? A lot of promoters screw their fighters out of the fights they want to take. Remember Derek Chisora when he said he wanted to fight Povetkin? When he was with Frank Warren and everybody wanted to see the fight? What about when Manny wanted to fight Khan, I think in Saudi Arabia, and Bob went over his head and said, nah, you're not taking that fight, you're fighting Jeff Horn in Australia. Now, if I'm a little less hot-headed, I guess the fighter signs with the promoter a multiple fight deal, and he signs over his power as well. And the WBC don't want to get into no conflict with the promoter saying, well, why are you telling my fighter this and that when he's contracted to me? I tell him who to fight, you know. And the truth is, you know, there's a lot of envelopes being opened by sanctioning bodies, boxing boards and commissions from these promoters and networks. The sanctioning bodies, commissions and boards, they work for the promoter more than the fighter, if truth is told. Boxers have short shelf lives. Bob hooked up with Jim Brown in the 60s and got into boxing. Before I was born, there's no boxer who's been in the ring since the 60s and still fighting competitively today. None. So the fighters literally have no power. You know, it's not like Terence is having some great relationship with Bob. I can buy mansions with the money I'm using to promote Terence Crawford. I'm not investing any more money in Terence Crawford, suggesting it's a waste of money. Crawford needs to promote himself. Well, he's trying to make moves. What else could he do? He submitted his request to the WBC. Why didn't Bob Arum do it from last year? So what happens like if Terry Atlas was correct and Crawford is out of Top Rank after the Porter fight and he becomes a free agent? Does he have to register to be a promoter to request a fight from the WBC? This is some bullcrap. The other thing is Terence Crawford overlooking Sean Porter, submitting a request to fight Errol Spence just days before his big fight with Sean.